Okay, let's dive into Job chapter 16 today. This is really a key moment. It's Job finally responding directly after listening to all his friends' attempts to, well, explain things.
Right. He sat through their speeches, their theories, and now it's his turn. And he doesn't really hold back.
No, definitely not. So what's his first reaction to these guys, his supposed comforters?
He looks right at them, essentially, and just calls them miserable comforters,
Yeah.
flat out.
Ouch. So much for friendly support.
Exactly. He's clearly fed up. He asks, when are these long-winded speeches going to end? Like, what's driving all this arguing?
And he makes that really interesting point, doesn't he, about flipping the situation.
Yeah, he says, look, if I were in your shoes, I could talk just like you. I could give fine speeches, shake my head sympathetically, or maybe not so sympathetically.
But he wouldn't. That's the key difference he points out.
Right. He says he would actually offer comfort, relief, not just pile on with condemnation like they're doing. He highlights how pointless their words feel to him.
Yeah, because whether he speaks or stays silent, the pain is still there. It doesn't change anything. And that leads him to, well, to shift his focus
Yeah.
pretty dramatically.
It really does. The focus turns directly toward God, who he sees as the ultimate source of his suffering.
And the language here gets incredibly raw, intense, even disturbing. He talks about feeling worn out, devastated.
And he pins it directly on God. The text is unambiguous. He sees his own body, his thinness, his suffering, as almost like a witness testifying against him, but a witness seemingly put there by God.
The specific descriptions he uses for God's actions are quite shocking.
They really are. He says God assails me and tears me in his anger, gnashes his teeth at me, that his opponent fastens on me his piercing eyes. It feels incredibly personal and violent.
And it's not just God directly, is it? He feels like God has sort of handed him over.
That's right. He says God has turned me over to evil men, thrown him into the clutches of the wicked. So he's also experiencing scorn and abuse from other people.
People strike my cheek in scorn. They unite together against me. So it's this feeling of being attacked from all sides.
Yes, but he traces it back. The ultimate responsibility in his mind seems to lie with God's, well, perceived hostility or abandonment.
And he just keeps layering these violent metaphors for God's actions.
Oh, absolutely. He feels shattered, like God grabbed him by the neck and crushed me, made him a target.
Surrounded by archers, pierced through the kidneys, spilling his gall. I mean, it's incredibly visceral imagery, deep internal wounds.
And then that final, powerful metaphor, God rushes at me like a warrior. It paints God as this relentless aggressor. It's a really difficult picture.
It is. And after painting this scene of utter devastation, physically, emotionally, there's a shift, isn't there? He describes how he looks.
Right, he mentions the sackcloth, the mourning attire, his face red from crying, the dark circles under his eyes from sheer anguish, all the outward signs of his suffering.
But then right in the middle of all that, he makes this absolutely crucial declaration about his inner state.
This is maybe the most stunning part of the chapter. He says, despite all this, yet my hands have been free of violence and my prayer is pure.
He maintains his innocence, his integrity. It's this stark contrast, utter external destruction, but internal purity and faithfulness.
Exactly. And this insistence on his innocence, while feeling so attacked, seems to lead him to this really complex and frankly amazing theological place.
He cries out to the earth itself.
Yeah, O earth, do not cover my blood. May my cry never be laid to rest. It's like a desperate plea for his suffering not to be ignored, for some kind of justice or vindication.
But then almost in the same breath comes something else, something quite unexpected given everything he just said about God attacking him.
This is the tension, isn't it? He feels utterly crushed by God, but then he says, even now my witness is in heaven, my advocate is on high.
How does he reconcile those two things, an attacker and an advocate in heaven?
It's profound. He calls this heavenly figure his intercessor, his friend, who pleads with God for him, as a man pleads for his friend. And this is happening while Job himself is weeping, pouring out his tears to God.
So it's this incredible mix, feeling totally abandoned, even targeted by God, but at the same time appealing to this heavenly witness, this advocate for him. It's not just despair.
No, it's despair mixed with this thread of hope, this appeal to some kind of higher justice or validation. And he's holding all of this together while facing the reality, as he says in the end, that he's heading towards the journey of no return. Death.
So let's bring this to you, the listener. Why does this chapter hit so hard? It's Job, yes, complaining, but also directly challenging God with brutal honesty. Yet, in that same moment, finding this sliver of hope in a heavenly advocate.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do you cope when you feel life is unfairly targeting you, or when you feel completely misunderstood, maybe overwhelmed, even if you don't see God as the source, that feeling of being under attack?
Right. And how do you hold on to your own sense of integrity, your own pure prayer, when everything outside seems to be falling apart? What does it mean to imagine or even hope for an advocate when you feel so vulnerable?
It's that paradox Job leaves us with, feeling attacked by the ultimate power, yet appealing to a witness within that same heavenly realm. It's quite something.
What does that tension tell us about faith itself, about how we navigate suffering and where hope might possibly come from, even in the darkest times? Something to really ponder.